Hey everyone, this is Kieran. Today's exercise is the zottman curl, and so it's a nice exercise for developing strength in this part of your forearm, but also in your bicep and your brachialis. So if you've had things like some elbow pain or wrist pain, or even like a little bit of shoulder pain sometimes, or just restrictions in these areas like a lack of flexibility or a lack of function in terms of strength, then this will be a useful exercise for you as part of like a complete rehab program in those regions. As I mentioned in the intro, this exercise can be useful for a few things. One of the reasons I typically prescribe it though is for people that have like a tennis elbow or lateral elbow pain, lateral epicondylitis. Now, that's a condition that we know more and more about now, and it's something called self-limiting condition. And that just means that it has a mechanism inside of it, a process behind it, that no matter what anyone does, it's just going to get better on its own. Now, there's certain groups where some people will get better sooner than others, but you're going to see the majority improve within 3 months. But then the sort of majority in total, so we're looking up towards around 90%, are going to be better sort of around that 12-month mark, no matter what they've done. Now, managing the symptoms along that process is a relevant conversation because for some people the symptoms are not tolerable, and for some people they are. And this changes a bit based on if you can modify your work activities or you can modify whatever's aggravating the issue. There's an overuse element to it, so a repetitive use. But what I'll typically find in this population is that they either have both of these things or one or the other, and it's reduced grip strength and reduced shoulder strength. Now, this exercise gets a little bit of the grip component, not so much the shoulder component. There's another exercise for that. I'll link that up here. So looking at sort of muscles on the back of our shoulder blade, anywhere from like the middle trapezius, rhomboids, to your external rotators or your posterior deltoid, these are all relevant exercises, and they help with loading the elbow through this pattern, okay? But what is the zottman curl? So most people are going to be familiar with bicep curl. Let's change our camera angle actually. So I'll give you guys a better view and change angle. Okay, so new frame. Hopefully you guys can see this a little bit better. In our traditional bicep curl, our forearm is supinated, right? It's turned out this way. So you're coming up and down like this. Now, this is a good option. It's not bad, but we're wanting to load, if we can, the forearm extensors. And what these elbow muscles do is they primarily move the wrist up into extension like this, and then they'll actually help with a bit of extension of the elbow. Very small lever arm though, so not a huge amount of work in terms of the elbow component. But if I want to challenge the wrist, and we talked about this a bit more in our wrist extensor specific video, which I'll link up here, if you want to look at sort of more wrist dominant components to this. But this muscle gets overloaded a bit in that when we talk about sort of that active insufficiency, so the inability for a muscle that crosses many joints to be maximally short at both joints. That's a challenging thing for a muscle to do. So that would mean being in this position and this position. And what we see in this sort of tennis elbowy sort of scenario is that someone's shoulder has overloaded, it's gone past its capacity point, and then we're seeing the grip start to fatigue as well, and then you've got this part in the middle here, which ends up taking more of the load. So this ability to load eccentrically through here, and that's part of the reason which we've seen with, I suspect, eccentric exercises being analgesic or providing some relief for this population group. But coming back to that sort of active insufficiency, if I can do a curl and come up and then turn around like this and then lower down while trying to maintain the wrist in extension here, I'm going to challenge that group all the way into a much harder position down here because it's harder for it to be that way. It'd be much easier for my wrist to lose that ability and just go down into flexion, okay? So this is 5 kilos. Do a regular curl, and then spin around and drop down. And then from the front, going down like this. And what you'll see is if this area is a little bit weak, you'll do some things to try and help. As you go down, you'll probably let your elbow try and flare out a little bit. And this is that idea of showing you that these abductors and external rotators are part of this loading complex. So they want to help out with that pattern. And you just do these until you hit fatigue point. And you'll start to feel a nice burn through here. You're probably going to be at a weight that your bicep and your brachialis aren't as limited here versus this forearm extensors fatiguing first. And there's quite a few there, that's why I'm not naming them specifically. Yeah, from the side again. Okay, so really nice exercise for conditioning the elbow, conditioning the wrist, and also just maybe spicing up your regular programming. If you've got some regular curls in there, then maybe throw these in for a 6 to 12 week cycle, see if you get some benefit out of them. I find that they're also a nice exercise to help with someone in a pull-up, because when you get into a pull-up position, this is that top end range. And if you're comfortable holding a load there, then it's gonna help you get into that top sort of pull-up position as well. So sort of a nice shorter video today than my regular ones, but nice exercise. You could do both at the same time. You could do one or the other. Do it for 6 to 12 weeks, progress the load, probably sit around sort of 3 to 4 sets of that kind of 8 to 10 rep range. If you can't do 8 reps, it's too heavy. If you can do way more than 10, it's too light. And progress the weight. Once you can hit kind of 4 times 10 at that weight, jump to a new weight the following week. Okay. So hopefully you found this helpful. Chip away at it. It's a good supplementary exercise. And I reckon that if you haven't been doing it, you'll definitely get some benefit from it regardless. Yeah, leave some comments below. As always, hope you enjoyed this, and thanks for watching. If you like this video, then please hit like below. Otherwise, to check out more of our content in the future, you can subscribe to our channel by clicking our logo over here. And to check out our latest video, click up here.